What's up, metal and heavy music fans? This is FlightOfIcarus with MetalTrenches.com. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Also follow us on various social media. Instagram may be a good place to make sure that you're getting our content. And we also have a mailing list, which is a surefire way to make sure that you don't miss anything. I send out an email every Friday. Links for those down in the description. Today I want to start kind of a series on bands that really changed my life in terms of sort of my trajectory in the music I was listening to at that time. And today's topic is Florida metalcore band Poison the Well. These guys formed back in 1997. They were a major force in defining what it meant to be metalcore, what that metalcore sound was. And I've spoken before about how there were definitely other metalcore bands before Poison the Well, and depending on how you want to look at it, there's a lot of precursors there. But their Trustkill debut, Opposite of December, was really a game-changing moment and something that it basically became the blueprint for what metalcore was supposed to be from then on. Now, sadly, unlike many of the other bands I'm planning on covering in this series, I don't actually remember the moment that I kind of stumbled upon Poison the Well. I have that moment with a lot of other bands that I'm thinking of in my head right now where I can literally visualize that moment and the thoughts and the feelings I had at that time. But for some reason, even though this is one of my all-time favorite bands, I've been thinking about it, and I can't quite pull that moment out. But anyways, I do recall looking at a lot of CD insert ads from Trustkill bands at that time, and you gotta remember that social media wasn't really big yet on the internet at this time, aside from rumblings on MySpace, but Facebook wasn't really like a widespread thing, and people weren't really sharing music in that way. You know, myself and the people that I knew got most of our info from store displays at places like Hot Topic, and, you know, you can be ashamed to say that, but I have a hard time believing none of the listeners out there didn't spend some time popping on the headphones at Hot Topic and listening to the newest releases there. We had a few other record stores in the area that allowed us to do that, but it was mostly that, word of mouth, magazines, and CD inserts. So I do remember spending a lot of time in the bathroom doing my business, just kind of opening my latest CD and browsing through the ad, you know, and Trustkill did a really good job with this of kind of marketing their other bands. So I would see the latest goings on when it came to Nora and Walls of Jericho. I discovered a lot of bands that way. So I'm pretty sure that was a piece of the puzzle. But in any case, I became aware of Poison the Well around 2002, which at least for me was a golden era of metalcore. There were so many amazing releases that came out right around that time. And for Poison the Well, they had at this point already released their sophomore album, Tear from the Red. I caught the music video for Botchla, I do remember that. It's got that great, moody, quiet opening part with the singing, and then they kick in with that, "But I adore," you know, that thing. And I remember being hooked from that. I was like, holy shit, this is something different. I haven't quite heard this before, or at least it done in this particular way. I got really interested. It led me to pick up both Tear from the Red and Opposite of December. There's so many great tracks on both of those albums. You got My Mirror No Longer Reflects with that amazing guitar riff that just sticks in your head, and also those little cymbal strikes to Mandate Heaven, Artist Rendering of Me, and of course, classic track Nerdy. And then Tear from a Red, of course, had again Botchla, Lazaro, Turn Down Elliot, and Sticks and Stones Never Made Sense, just to name a few. I was trying to learn guitar at this point too, so I was trying to copy a lot of these riffs, trying to learn like how are they switching between these kind of more melodic portions and the heavier parts, learning all the lyrics, singing along, and I really just became obsessed with them. Like, they were kind of my band for a long time, and a major gateway to other groups that I got into, like From Autumn to Ashes, Bleeding Through, and As I Lay Dying. And also, while a lot of my collection at that time was burned CDs, because we were all walking around with Discmen at that point, and file sharing was definitely a thing. So we were kind of sharing between each other too. Like, this guy had these CDs and I had these CDs and my other friend had these CDs, and we would kind of pool our resources together and swap them and burn them on our computers, and, and then we walk around with our Discman. But Poison the Well, I owned those albums. Those were among the first CDs I would say that I was like really proud to own, and that like I bought with my own money, and they weren't things that were kind of just gifted to me. But things really kicked into high gear with 2003's You Come Before You. And while many call Opposite of December Poison the Well's seminal album, for me, it's 100%. This was their peak. This was their finest hour, and it was also just their most cohesive album, had the most impact, had a lot of dynamics. It was a very mature place. They managed to kind of up the ante with the production, with the songwriting, with the performances. Everything came together in this perfect storm that was You Come Before You. And I was absolutely blown away by it. It's an album that still holds up for me today. I listed in kind of my top 5 albums of all time. And I just got to say, listening to the opening of Ghost Chant for the first time was like a religious experience. And remember, again, this is before pre-listening was really a widespread thing. You kind of just picked up the album and hoped for the best at that point, which was kind of scary. Like, I got burned by quite a few bands in that way. And again, we had things like LimeWire and whatnot, but they took forever, and our shitty modems and subpar connection speeds didn't really make that the best option, and there was a little bit of guilt. But yeah, this was back when if you just loved a band, you just bought the album, and there's definitely pros and cons to that too. I have a lot of feelings about that now as well, but in this case, it definitely paid off, and it led to just one of those magical experiences that I don't really have anymore, because pretty much if I buy an album, I've already heard it several times at this point. But yeah, just completely floored me. I ended up seeing them at the very first Sounds of the Underground tour. They played a great set, but I still remember this day, a lot of kids were pissed when the set ended and everyone was going, "Play fucking Nerdy! Nerdy! Play fucking Nerdy!" And they didn't play Nerdy. I don't know if they were just sick of playing that song or if they just happened to not include it on the set that day, but there were some angry fans, and yes, I would have liked to have heard them play it, but I get it. It's almost like, I imagine that's pretty much like their Free Bird. It probably gets old. Now, after that, again, that was very much like a peak for me. I kind of fell off for a while after that. I do remember in college being super hyped for Versions to come out. I caught the music video for Letter Thing, which was a really great track. But I was kind of let down when I got the album. It's just very different. It's kind of more experimental. They try a lot of new things, go in a lot of new directions, kind of play with a lot of other instrumentation and styles. And I just didn't like it. Like, to be frank, I was really kind of bummed about it, and for years just sort of disowned it as this thing that had spurned me, and the band had kind of betrayed me in some way. But over the years, I've come to greatly appreciate it and kind of kick myself for not understanding what's so great about it, and how it was good that they didn't want to just do the same thing over again, because I think my dumb young self at the time just really wanted You Come Before You Part 2, but that's lame. Like, I kind of get annoyed when bands just put the same album out over and over again too, so, it's good. 2009's The Tropic Rot was a little bit more my speed, but still failed to have that same initial impact. I was almost like this Poison the Well heroin addict at this point, still chasing that first high that I'd gotten from this album and couldn't quite get it back. But I did enjoy that album. I spent a decent time listening to it. It's not one I hold in higher esteem because it doesn't have that same oomph, that same initial impact, and also it's not as kind of creative as Versions. It doesn't have the kind of scene legacy that Opposite of December has, so I kind of listed it a little bit lower in their discography, but I enjoyed it a lot, and it's very consistent too. It's just another solid album. soon after this, really, very sadly, Poison the Well broke up or went on extended hiatus, whatever you want to call it. And that was very sad for me because, again, this was a band I'd at this point been listening to for many years and had very fond memories associated with, both just on my own listening to the music and connecting it to time spent with friends. You know, being a dumb kid, you know, it's got that quality for me. And so even right now, just talking about it, it just makes me a little bit sad. And at the same time, though, part of me is glad because there's so many bands also that I've listened to over the years that are still around and they kind of suck now, to be honest. And I'd say that hurts more than just the band not existing anymore. I don't know, but I see that happen to plenty of bands. Look at fucking Metallica. But yeah, I think, you know, they may have just said what they had to say. And I think that that's a good thing when you just acknowledge that, okay, like, I think we did what we came here to do. I don't really have anything more in me. I'm not feeling the same about it anymore. I'm not going to fake it. We've just moved on to other things, and that's what they did. But yeah, that was my time with Poison the Well. I hope that was interesting for you. If you are not familiar with them, I hope this inspires you to go out and check out their albums because they are a really important and just really solid band worth your time. I also really want to end these with some shout outs to newer, more underground groups in a similar style. But honestly, with Poison the Well, I haven't come across a lot of groups that I'd really compare to them. There's a lot of groups out there aping like As I Lay Dying sound or August Burns Red sound, but not a lot of just that pure kind of D-beat driven Poison the Well stuff. So if I come across it, I'll be the first to share it, absolutely, because there's definitely a serious lack of this particular style. But I hear kind of more and more people are getting tired of sort of the gent sound, and they're starting to pull more from that late 90s, early 2000s stuff. And so I'll have my ears open. If you're aware of another band that I should be aware of that is doing this now, by all means, please do let me know. And again, you can do that via social media, you can shoot me a direct email, whatever, but I'm going to kind of leave it at that. If you enjoyed this, please do give us a like, please do subscribe to the channel, stick around to check out all the other videos because there's quite a bit that I've put out there at this point. I'm just cranking them out as quickly as I can as topics pop into my head that I think will be interesting. The response has been great so far, but I'm really hoping to grow the channel, and I can only do that with your help. But for now, that's it for me. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.